Soy un Terminator. Y bueno, estamos con nuestra penúltima leyenda. Y obviamente tenía que presentarla, otra leyenda hispana también, amigo, que ya es parte de la casa, y me refiero al gran Pablo González. Así que Pablo González, no podía dejar pasar la oportunidad de estar con nosotros en 8.8 Leyenda. Bienvenido, Pablito.
Muchas gracias, Gabriel. Gracias por la invitación. Bueno, pues vamos a ver un vídeo de Chris Robert, que es la siguiente persona que va a estar con nosotros en 8.8, y vamos a ver un vídeo de por qué Chris Robert es una leyenda. Bien, pues Chris Roberts es una leyenda, como hemos visto, y bueno, pues es un hacker, se dedica desde hace muchos años al mundo infosec, es un investigador con un gran bagaje en la historia, ¿no? Y bueno, es ejecutivo, consultor, lleva el liderazgo en la sangre y bueno, pues ha tenido la suerte de estar inmerso con la tecnología durante muchos años y además está involucrado en muchas discusiones tácticas y estratégicas con clientes en el espectro de industrias que hablan sobre la madurez, el riesgo y cómo lograr cambios y mejoras en el mundo de la seguridad. Así que, sin más, hi Chris,
Good
nice to meet
morning.
you.
You too.
And
How are you?
I hope you enjoyed the event 8.8. And thank you very much. You may begin, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I gotta move the dog out of the way for a minute. Let me get to my presentation screen. It's hard to move a 200-pound dog out of the way sometimes. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Firstly, I apologize. My Spanish, especially my Spanish for Chile, is a little rusty, so this will be in English. So I hope that is okay. Secondly, every now and again, you might see a large Great Dane coming in at about eye level for more treats. But let's see if we can get on with the slides and have some fun. We're just going to talk about the state of the industry, the state of security. We're also going to have a general conversation about just some fun things that we can do in the industry as we move through the industry, as we walk through it. You heard Ava talk just now about the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the amazing work that they are doing. And I have thankfully been on the receiving end of some of their work. I am one of those people that they have dug out of a large hole. So without further ado, let's have a conversation. So we're going to talk about security, and we're going to talk a little bit about the MCU. So a little bit of fun with Thanos and his clicking fingers. But before we do that, we will have a little bit of a public service announcement, as I would like to call it. For those of you that were looking for a fun, light pep talk and a hoorah for the industry, this is not going to be that talk. You have been warned. This is going to be a very blunt conversation about the state of the industry, what is going on in the industry, and what we need to do about it. So for those of you that know me, my squirrel moment is over, and we're going to have a little bit of a conversation with the agenda. So we're going to talk about what is going on with the security industry, not just in North America, but Europe, obviously South America, and other areas around. We're also going to talk about why we need to change how we're approaching the industry, why we need to have a different look at things, and we'll probably break a few things along the way and kind of go from there. The hairy thing that is in front of you, my beard is not as colored as it normally is. For that, as I apologize. My background is obviously as a researcher, a father to both two-legged ones. I have my daughter upstairs asleep because it is early in the morning for here. I got the four-legged ones running around, a geek, and then, yes, the hacker. And I wear that very, very proudly. So let's have a conversation. let's talk about why are we failing. So, and we'll have the conversation about why I think we're failing. But if we're failing, let's talk about the humans. This is nothing to do with technology. This has got nothing to do with any of the procedures. This is about the humans ourselves. And when I talk about the humans ourselves, let's take ourselves back to the early days when we were kids, when we had parents or guardians or somebody was looking after us. When we first started, and when we first started not even in the industry, but the first time we came into the kitchen, the parents, what did they say to us? They said, don't touch the kettle, it's hot. Don't touch the stove, it's hot. And what did we do? We touched it. We put our hand out and we got burnt. And then later on in life, oops, I've missed the later on in life. Later on in life, we did this. We all thought this was a good idea. We all, as kids, we were like, this will be wonderful, until we ended up wrapping ourselves around a tree. And as adults, this is us. Not just us in the industry, but these are the very people that we're trying to look at and look after. So if we think about that, and then we think about our work and the work that we're doing, this is every single red team engagement. I've been doing this now for the best part of 40 years, minus jumping out of airplanes for the military. And on not on one occasion have we been unable to actually break into something. Every single time we can get in. So this really is the state of our industry on this one. So then we have to take a step back and go, well, we've thrown technology at it for so many years. Will technology fix it? And the question on will technology fix it, and here's a little bit of the answer, unfortunately, for this one. We take a look at the amount of passwords that we have, we take a look at where we're going on passwords, and this password 123456 is still the #1 password that we deal with. Not only is 1 through 6 the number password, but if you decide you fancy having a little bit of fun with the US Congress, you can put all ones into some of the user accounts and still get in. Although, for those of you that are following US politics, I think it was Make America Great Again 2020 exclamation got you into a bunch of the Twitter feeds and everything. So, we as a society and we as people are charging down the way of technology, yet we're still facing these levels of passwords. So, welcome to information security. Wonderful big gate, amazing big walls, and easy ways around absolutely everything. And then, for those of you that have a little bit of fun with some English and British writers and some British humor on this one, we have the conversation from Douglas Adams, which is any time that the civilization gets to a point where it has to put instructions on the inside of toothpicks, this is where we have to have a bit of a change. And then we have to look at the very people that we are trying to protect. So again, our industry is all about protecting people, or it should be all about protecting people. And when we have to put signs like this up around the zoos or around other areas, then we really have to take a step back and go, we should change our approach. We should look at doing something different in this industry. But if you listen to the very people in our industry, everybody's charging off down this, well, I've got cyber. And if you look at it from the perspective of the attackers, so the adversaries, the attackers, the folks that are actually breaking in and not legitimately breaking in, if you look at how organized, how well put together they are, the technologies that they have, the tools that they have, I'm going to move the screen just a little bit so you can actually see what's going on just a bit. You look at the tools and the technology that they have and the time that they have and the patience that they have, as it shows, a much bigger and a much more effective toolbox than anybody on the defensive side, which typically means from the attacker's perspective, it's easy hunting and it's easy fishing. So then, we take a couple of examples from this. There were a number of us that got brought into beginning of this year. It was a capture the flag. It was an invite-only capture the flag. And we basically were given a target. It was a fully patched Windows 10 environment with endpoint detection on it, all sorts of software and all sorts of detection stuff on it, and a whole bunch of other things in front of it. And it was sitting on top of a virtual machine. We knew going into it what we would be facing, how we'd be facing it. And as you can see, you can read the stats as well as I can. Once we got into the system, it was 68 seconds to break past the Windows 10 environment, bypass the endpoint detection system, and take control of bare metal. It was too easy. And so that was the state of technology then, and it hasn't really moved on from now. So then we have to go back in history and look at how Nortons cannot obviously protect you even then. So then we look at the defensive teams. we have to take a look at where we have been. We take a look at the people on the blue team side of the fence, the purple team side of the fence, and where they are today. And quite honestly, it's not pretty, as it says in here. Arguably less tools, or even if they have all the tools, they're not using them effectively. They're actually still, some of them are still chasing for more technology. Some of them haven't time to implement them properly. And not only do we have to worry about the tools, but we also have to put policies, procedures, and controls in place. So we have to justify exactly what we're doing. And then also, typically, we're doing it with politics. We're having to worry about various other things, and often with less resources. So this, unfortunately, is where we come to when it comes to the defensive side of the world. Now, for those of you that believe your vendors and you believe them without questioning, the vendor apparently keeps telling us we're going to be secure. The vendor keeps using hooded images and to tell us that they can keep you 100% secure, that they have anti-hacking solutions, and we aren't good at questioning them, something we'll talk about in a little bit. So here is what I say you do to your vendors that keep telling you that they can keep you secure. Now, we are going to need a few more cartridges because this is the state of the security market. So again, if you put yourself in the shoes of the very people we're trying to protect, they have all of these companies that they're now trying to figure out who can do the right thing for me, who can do the right endpoint or the right technology or the right defensive system or the right intelligence platform. And the companies themselves aren't helping the situation because every single one of them keeps saying, hey, we can all do everything perfectly. And so part of our challenge and part of the work we need to do in this industry is sort this bloody mess out more effectively. Now, let's have a conversation about our industry. This is what I do not like. Our business is booming. We have a lot going on. There's money flowing in, and unfortunately, it keeps moving, which means we keep rewarding the bad behavior. We are spending more and more money. I mean, it's crazy the amount of money that we've spent in this industry. Last year alone, 124 billion US dollars was spent in the industry. Now, some of it was for legacy systems, some of it was for software and hardware and systems that we have to maintain and that we have inherited, et cetera, but a lot of it, unfortunately, has been spent on newer technology, which means, in theory, we should be winning. But unfortunately, we're not even close to winning. So this is where we're expecting to see damages hit by 2021. Now, I've seen some stuff throwing around in the newspaper, which is, oh, we're already here and we've already done it. And I'm still not entirely certain. I'd love to see some more material behind this. But if we take a look at the statistics that we have in our industry now, and this is a mix from like Ponymon, the Feds, from the Verizon report, IBM, and a couple of other reports all put together, the amount of time it takes us to even detect that somebody is inside a system averages out about 197 days. It's all over the place. It's everywhere from like 90 days up to 1,000+ days, if you're Yahoo or somebody. We're not good at doing anything on this one. Then recovering. So when you know that you found me inside your environment, then it's going to take you another 2 months to actually get me the hell out of your environment. For those of you that know me, part of my background is doing research and a lot of work in the deception space. So I do a bunch of work in that one, which actually starts to affect those top two figures quite significantly. Then we look at the amount of companies that are being phished, the amount of companies that have had a breach, the cost of the breaches. I mean, those numbers are, again, all over the place. Part of the problem in our industry is we don't even have a clear set of numbers to go against. We keep talking about all these numbers, but we don't actually have one good set to go against, which is a problem. The worst one for me is the fact that we're losing so much data. That's a global number. So 22 million records a day is a global number. So, all over the world as far as I'm concerned. And those numbers are fairly significant, unfortunately. If you tally up and you add up the top 30 breaches that we have had globally, it's almost double the Earth's population. So if nothing else, we're extremely thorough at making sure that we lose everybody's data twice. And then we look at when we fail. Then we look at even how we manage to make a profit even when we fail. So I've sold you equipment and I've taken your money And then I've taken your money to maintain it and manage it. I've taken your money to penetrate test it and to assess it. I've taken more money to put policies and controls around it. And then when the whole thing fails and you get ransomware, I take even more money from you to try to fix the ransomware and repair you in the first place. We're terrible. How the hell do we succeed? This is the state of our industry. It's not good. If you want to add extra things into here as well, for those of you that are science fiction fans, this sums it up perfectly. We're erratic, conflicted, and disorganized. We lack harmony and cohesion and greatness. It will be, and currently is, our undoing. Now, on top of this, just to add a little bit more on top of this, we have alert fatigue. You guys can read the statistics as well as I can. So we have put technology into the hands of the people that we're meant to protect that they can't effectively manage. We've put technology into the hands. I mean, I've done it. We were on a penetration test not that long ago, and we'd gotten in and we were sitting there, and the managed service provider hadn't noticed that we were there. So we started to make some more noise. We started to like ramp up the noise. And they saw us and they categorized it as something. So we're like, okay, we're going to really make some noise. So we fired up something called Angry IP Scanner. Angry IP Scanner, for those of you that don't know what it is, it's basically, it's a scanning software. It basically looks at every single port or specific ports across the network, and it does it loud and proud. It's like standing in the middle of a library with a loudspeaker yelling at the top of your voice. Somebody's going to pay attention, and they did. After they tuned the system down, they then said, oh, it's a bad network card. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it in a couple of days. And we were like, we give up. And so this is where we have the problems even in our industry. When we put the tools that should be doing the detection, we haven't tuned them, or we haven't done an effective enough job to actually help the organizations understand. So then the challenge then becomes, how do you help a company understand that it's not an if? It's not the fact that you've built all this technology in place and, oh, they'll be perfectly safe, which is what they think. They're like, well, why am I spending this money? We don't explain it effectively. We don't talk about it as a journey or a path or a way that we're trying to do things. We say, oh, it's okay, it's fine. We, as our industry, have to take a step back. And we have to look at what we're doing and what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. And unfortunately, we're doing more things wrong. We are definitely led by marketing messages. When I first started in this industry, and we're talking a long, long time ago, we were led by innovation. We were led by people who had passion, who had desire, who wanted to see change. You just listened to an amazing talk by EFF, which was taught by Eva, which we were talking about change and wanting the passion back into this industry to help people and help society get better. But we don't do that. We spend much more money on marketing messages to try to confuse everybody. Then we charge down the latest buzzwords. So it doesn't matter if it's AI or machine learning or pick your buzzword, you know, endpoint detection, etc., etc. We'll go charging down this in the hope that we can make some more money on it. We're not focused on protecting. We don't care about protecting. We focus much more on making profits. And for me, that's a shame. There's so many in this community. And, you know, that's why I love talking at these, even if it is a crazy hour of the morning, because we have a community and so many of us want to see change, but we have to be able to affect it, something we'll talk about. And unfortunately, you know, we haven't evolved for the right reasons. We've evolved to make a lot of people, some people, a lot of money, and not necessarily to protect people effectively. So we have created an exceedingly good breeding ground for an attacker to succeed, not for us to be able to do things as well as we want to. So this is about where we are, really, when we look at it. Let's face it, we have actually not just got a bit of a shit show, we've actually set it on fire. So what do we do? How do we actually do something about this? And we have some options. This isn't just a do this or us. We have a couple of options. We can go all Thanos. Now, what I mean by this is if you look at where technology is and you look at the work that's being doing in technology, especially in healthcare, especially in biotechnology, especially nano and embedded technology, especially technology in critical infrastructure, we are at a point, it's not even a maybe or a possibility, we are at a point where we affect actual humans. When we screw up, it is no longer just reboot the computer. It is when we screw up in healthcare, people die. When we screw up by ransomware in these places, people die. We've already had examples. We've already had potential examples. The US and a couple in Europe is going through it at the moment with a whole bunch more healthcare attacks that are going on. People are suffering. So you take that, extrapolate that out even further, we kill more people. Unfortunately, especially in the United States, people only pay attention when more and more and more people die and more bodies pile up. So we have that option. It is a bit drastic, especially very, very drastic when you turn 3.5 billion people into nothing more than dust bunnies. The other problem with this as well is Thanos was very short-sighted. I grew up, I mean, I was born in the 70s. So when I was born, the world's population was only about 3.5 billion. Fast forward almost 50 years, we're at 7.5 billion. So we would literally have to kill off half the population of the planet every 50 years just to keep people's attention. Not sure it's a good thing to do, but it's an option. It's out there, especially the way we're turning to technology. Especially if we look at healthcare. I mean, this is just, you know, the last 4 years with healthcare, the amount of places that are being hit, the amount of systems that are being attacked, the overwhelming amount of machines and people and everything else that are being affected on this, and the costs that go with it. It's pretty substantial. And as I said, when we get it wrong at this point in time, when we screw up, people die. There's no even question about this at this point in time. It's no longer reboot the computer, we'll be fine. It's, oh, that ICU system just went online as ransomware. The person couldn't get to the hospital in time because of ransomware. There are too many examples of this where we're seeing this. So this is no longer us just screwing around with computers. These are people's lives that we're affecting. And this was that ransomware attack, unfortunately, where we were talking about, you know, this was several weeks ago, and I said 60 hours, this is several weeks ago where we were talking about this, where, you know, it wasn't just the first one. We've had WannaCry, we've had a whole bunch of other things. How many people do go through stress? So it's not good. Now, option number 2. We've all been charging down the technology arena and looking at artificial intelligence. So there is a part of me, I will admit, that actually wants the machines to take over, because as humans, we suck. I mean, we're terrible. We're not good with looking after each other. We're terrible between different countries about how we help people or ignore people, unfortunately. And we tend to have too many biases. We really tend to have too many biases. So let's let the machines take over, as far as I'm concerned. Now, there's a bit of a problem with that. We haven't got quite the machines where we want them. This comes off of, so I'm very fortunate. I live in a nice house. You saw one of the dogs come in a minute ago. We have the Roombas. We have a couple of Roombas running around the house, cleaning up, you know, all the dog hair and stuff like that. So apparently, according to Roomba, it has advanced decision-making capabilities powered by artificial intelligence. It's capable of scanning a room, remembering things, sorting out and everything. Well, no, it doesn't. This is artificial intelligence in action. This is exactly where the bloody Roomba gets stuck day after day after day. No matter what I do, the stupid thing ends up getting stuck there. It eats the carpet and it goes to try to hide under the side. So, and if you look on top of this, this is actually a fairly modern example. When we look at how that intelligent system is able to categorize imagery, is able to mess around with them, we look at us from the hacking community at how we can mess with it. So on the left-hand side, you have basically a picture of a pig. Great, wonderful. Now you manipulate that image by, you know, by literally less than 0.5%, and all of a sudden the actual intelligence system classifies that pig as an airline. This is where we get into adversarial machine learning, adversarial intelligence. So if you think about it, artificial intelligence is typically very, very dependent on the data that it's learning from and how often that data refreshes, how often that data is used, etc., etc., etc. If you can poison the well and actually put your own data into that data source it's learning from, all of a sudden you now influence the outcome of some of these decisions. So a perfect example, I don't think CloudStrike is supporting this. Who do we have? We got Palo Alto, Tenable, Nasdaq, McAfee. All right, I can annoy CloudStrike. So CloudStrike is a good example of this one. Same thing with Darktrace. Those are two organizations that rely very, very heavily on artificial intelligence. Now, if you can get to the source of the data, which is possible, and you can poison it and you can do all sorts of interesting stuff with it, all of a sudden the machines it's protecting become the machines it wants to attack and defend against. So you basically induce a self-attack on the system. It's kind of fun to do. So for good measures, apart from making pigs fly, as it says, adversarial machine learning. It really is the new frontier of what we're doing. For those of you that are in the industry or looking to advance in the industry, take a long, hard look at how companies and organizations are using large quantities of data to make decisions, and then look at the attack vectors that you can insert across those. And please have some fun with that. So as it says, despite what the vendors say, AI is not going to save us just yet. It won't exactly be the downfall of us, but it isn't there yet. Now, we could just keep going down the same route that we've been doing. I mean, we obviously have that option, and here it is. Head in the sand. And we all know how well that works. We are going off the edge of the cliff. We're going off the edge of the cliff at full speed. Or we try something new. We take a different approach to this. We take a little bit of a look at this and see what we can do. We can take a step away from the technology, and we can look at how we interact with each other. We can look at how we communicate with people and exchange ideas. Again, what I love about this community is we have, 8.8, 10 years old this year. Okay, 10 years of working with the community. We have the B-Sides community, which again is amazing all over the country. We have all these areas where we can exchange ideas with each other and we can influence. We have cooperation, the ability to actually share the data. And this is a very, very crucial one, and share in a timely fashion. That's a huge one. We can coordinate effectively. We can all actually work together for a common cause, as opposed to all of us behind the scenes pulling in different directions. We're going through some challenges at the moment. And I got to be honest, I'm kind of pissed off with some of the people in our industry, because we're having problems with healthcare. And there's a number of amazing people, Evan Frankel, Ryan Torchier, and some other amazing people at other companies that are actually doing some amazing work to try and figure out what's going on. And then you get some people which are holding on to information and don't want to share. That's when I start getting pissed off, because we need to collaborate much more effectively. So a shout out to some people in our industry that are holding on to 427 hospitals worth of information. Share your shit. Krebs, I hope you're listening to this. All right. When we talk to people, when we have conversations with companies, when we engage with companies, think about it. Think about it not just in your shoes, but think about it from the company. If somebody was to walk up to you and somebody was to have a conversation with you, go, "Hi, I'm Chris. I'm going to penetrate you." What the hell are you going to do? I'm not only going to penetrate you, I'm going to penetrate you with a piece of software named after the goddess of death and destruction. Doesn't sound very inviting, doesn't sound very nice. And not only am I going to do that, I'm going to penetrate you with pineapples and ponies. And you're like, what the hell are you talking about? That is not the way to do it. How about walking up to the people that you want to engage with? How about walking up to somebody you just want to help understand security? How about walking into that next client engagement with tea or coffee in one hand and donuts or pastries in the other hand, and sitting down going, can we have a conversation? Can we talk? Can we role play? Can we engage in discussion? Much more collaborative, much more engaged. The barrier comes down. You're not in an adversarial relationship. And here's what I mean. And again, I'll take this as English, but for those of you that follow XKCD, I know he does these books in other language. So talk in a language that others understand. In other words, you're in Chile. When you are talking with your clients, don't talk in code, don't talk in acronyms, talk in Spanish. Have a plain and simple conversation with them. Don't talk in geek speak, but explain what we're doing in a language that others are comfortable with and others understand. This comes back to training. So for those of you that follow me, I do a lot of work with the Wiser team. So Wiser, we do a lot of education work, and we do it in plain and simple language, and it's free. There is a ton of free training out there, the Wiser training site. I've even got a compendium. I've got a dictionary where we break down how technical terms are gone to English. Take them, translate them to Spanish, please. In fact, I think we do some of the languages. But we need to be the ones that come to the table and talk more effectively with others. The other thing we need to do is ask more questions. We also need to help the people around us ask more questions, and I have them help understand what's going on with security, have them understand what's happening in this industry. This is a big shout out. DevSecOps, whether you like the name, don't like the name, like what's going on, etc., etc. To me, this is where we have collaboration. This is where we have development teams, security teams, and operational teams working together. A big shout out for like Mark Miller and the DevSecOps teams here. They have a conference in 2 weeks' time. There's 150 speakers over 24 hours. It's completely free. It's all day DevOps. Go watch it, go listen to it, go engage. Go understand how we have to collaborate more effectively and work together more effectively. Break down the barriers. Just because we know the development teams are a pain in the ass, and just because we know operators are kind of strange, we're also weird in the middle, and we have to be the ones that go out there and help everybody else listen to be more effective. We got to share. Again, this is a community. You have so many people here listening. You have so many people here engaged. Get to know each other, get to understand this, and when you are talking and when you are basically working with each other, figure out exactly who you can tell. If you get hit, or when you get hit with ransomware, or you get hit with an attack, talk to the people around you and help them protect themselves as well. We shouldn't be waiting for the lawyers to get engaged, and we shouldn't be waiting before the authorities tell us we can say something. Even if you keep the back channels open, the signal channels, and all these other discussion points open, we should be the ones reaching out and helping those around us. The only way we get better is if we work more effectively as a community. It's as simple as that. Oops, missed my slides. There we go. I think that's the one. Yep. So there's more on this. There's a lot more on this that we could obviously have a conversation about, but I want to talk a little bit more about this one. So if we look at our industry and we look at where we started, it used to be people, process, and technology. But let's be perfectly honest. We have forgotten the people. We've looked at technology as solving these problems. And it's not going to do everything for us. It isn't going to solve the problems unless we re-engage with the people. You know, unfortunately, as an industry, we've blamed people. We've said, oh, users are stupid, or users can't learn, or I can't teach them, or anything else. That's not our problem. That's our fault. We need to take a step back and go, look, how do we engage with the users? How do we enable them? How do we make them more effective? Not just training them once a year, that's useless, but how do we do something on a regular basis, like once a month? Just teach them, help them understand, help them protect their families, their friends, their kids, their grandparents, and everybody around them. That way they learn, and then they become our best asset. They become our first line of defense. And the processes, as much as we hate paperwork and as much as it sucks, those processes, the policies, or the controls, they help a lot. Start thinking about them more effectively before you start throwing more technology at the problem. Here's one for us. Again, for those of you that know me, I have two of these guys hanging around, and I love them. And they're probably the only thing that kept me going through last year. No two ways about it. And this is a shout out to the mental health hackers. We, as a community, need to unplug sometimes. We have to. I take my time. Monday through Friday with work week. I get up in the morning. When I eventually get up, I'm a nighttime person. I get up in the morning and I work until 6 o'clock at night. From 6 o'clock at night till 9, 10 o'clock at night, I don't touch the computer. It's my time with my family. It's the time with the dogs. It's the time to eat. It's the time to relax. 9, 10 o'clock at night, I pick the computer back up again. I work till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Saturdays, apart from this Saturday, because these crew here, the Chilean crew, got hold of me and said, we really want you to talk. Saturdays, normally you will never find me in front of any of this damn technology. I don't touch it. I don't want to deal with it. I leave my phone behind. I hate technology on Saturdays. This is the one exception I have made in probably months, because I believe this is so important. And the guys called me up and said, hey, can I come hang out with you folks on Saturday? So normally I'd be nowhere near technology. I'd be up in the mountains hanging out. But please look after yourselves. Take time away, reach out to people in this industry and go, hey, I got a problem. I've done it often enough. Other people have done it. That's what we're here for. So some final thoughts. This is our future. Our future is simple. It's going to take all of us. I don't care about your background. I don't care about your race, your color, your creed, your language, how many limbs you have, your orientation or anything. I don't give a shit. What I care about is here. I care about your passion, I care about your desire, and I care about your want to help to protect other people. And this should be when we employ people, when we engage people, and when we work with people. That should be how we define people. And it's going to take change. We can't blame leadership. We can't blame the research. I'm sure as hell don't blame the hackers. We all need to take responsibility for what's going on in this industry. And we need and have to be the very change that we want to see. And this is my love one. I love this one. This is a fundamental attribution error. We've got to stop blaming everybody. We really have to stop blaming everybody else. You know, when you get breached, when something happens, when you fail, stop trying to blame everybody else. Take a step back, go look in the mirror. What could I have done differently? If a user clicked on something and they infected the system, could you have educated that user more effectively? Could you have trained them? Could you have taught them to do something? When leadership says, no, we're not buying any more tech, maybe take a step back and go, did I explain it effectively? What could I have done differently to influence that situation? Because the attitude of I can't affect change is bullshit. We can all affect change and we can all choose something on this one. So last couple of slides and I'm going to shut up and we'll do Q&A. So this is kind of a cool one. We've all come at this from different directions by far and away. I've been in this industry way too long. I've seen way too many changes and I love the industry. The people that are coming into this industry now are great. There are some amazing ideas, some amazing thoughts. You know, I was introduced by an amazing individual who has done so much in this industry as well. The people that are putting this on for the 10th year are amazing in this industry. We've all come at it from different directions. So we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to affect change. We're all trying to do things differently. So we need to figure out how we can do that. And as I said, as individuals, if we do this individually, we're going to fail. The only way that we work effectively is if we do this together. The only way this succeeds is if we work together. And that's across the globe. That's everywhere. And this is, remember, this is a part English, part Scottish guy who was born in Cyprus, who lives in the US, talking about a conference in Chile. So if anybody can reach across the globe and do this, that'll be us. So do me a favor, let's put the country barriers down. Let's actually figure out how we can all work together, please. All right. Huge thanks to everybody for listening on a Saturday morning. A massive thanks to the team for putting this on. It's freaking awesome for 10 years on this one, and to the organizers for pointing it. So with that, the final slide. I want to just say thank you to everybody for listening. Thanks for everybody hanging out. I'm not sure if there's questions or if I've managed to stun everybody into silence. So I'm going to shut up at this point in time, and I'm going to stop sharing my slides. So hopefully that was fun and interesting.
Hi, Chris. This is Lisa.
Hey.
By email. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for your talk. It's so interesting.
Thank you. That was fun. It's fun hanging out. And I'm going back to bed in a minute. It's
I know it's your day off.
It is, but this is important.
Great that you could be here with us today. Really.
Oh, it's totally. I'm glad. I'm a priest. Thanks for asking me to come and hang out. And it was awesome listening to Ava before. I loved EFF has done. I owe them a lot of thanks for various things in my past.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, we have some questions from the attendees. So, do you think today that the artificial intelligence is generating cyber attacks? Or do you know if they're working on investigating to create that kind of attacks?
Oh yeah, we've been working on that for years. So if you go out and do some research, 4 years ago, I think, I was part of a project, so I'll put my hand up on this one. It was called the DARPA Grand Cyber Challenge, or the DARPA Grand Challenge, and it was basically adversarial and defensive machine learning against each other. So it was machine against machine, and they were learning each other's tactics, and it was a self-enclosed unit, and we had a whole bunch of competitions from a whole bunch of people, and this was 4 or 5 years ago now. So yeah, I mean, is it being designed that way? Absolutely. Is it in use at this moment in time? Good question. we have seen advances. We've obviously seen advances in the defensive system. So security orchestration takes sets of attacks and tries to do attributes and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely coming along. No two ways about it.
Thank you. Am I more protected from an attack if I use Linux or Ubuntu?
You can protect, I mean, you can protect anything. Well, let me rephrase that. Let me actually really rephrase that. You can't protect anything, but you can reduce the risk. So nothing is secure. Let's be perfectly honest. I mean, Linux has its own problems. Ubuntu's got its own, well, Linux is. I mean, I use Macintosh systems. So at the end of the day, that's a BSD, an open BSD system, which is like mother and father of all of these. This has issues. Windows, all the operating systems have issues. It's what you do to lower the risk. You know, how active do you use the firewalls? How active are you at putting some kind of protection? What do you know that should be running versus what is running? What do you have on the browser? And then also, what are you paying attention to? Are you watching your logs? Are you doing all these things? Everything can be attacked. No two ways about it. It's just, what do you do to lower your risk? I hope that helps.
Okay, I have another question here. Thinking in the theory of Thanos, who, one or more persons could lead this, could take the leadership of this, and as to your experience.
Say that one again.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm
no, that's okay.
So, thinking in the theory of Thanos,
who Thanos, yeah.
leadership of that as to your experience?
In other words, who could lead our industry?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, there's some good people. I don't think it's one person. I think in our industry, and I've watched some of the videos that you've put out, and some of the people you've had talk. There have been some amazing people that have done talks. To me, I think the leadership takes a lot of us. It cannot be one voice. It has to be numerous voices. I mean, you've got Jack Daniels, you've got Chris Nickerson, you've got amazing people there. You have amazing people in the Middle East. You have amazing people in Europe, South America. I mean, you think of some of the fantastic people that are in the community in South America that are leading the community. I think it takes a number of us, and I think it's going to take a number of us. You got Ian Amit. I mean, there's so many good people that I think it has to take a number of us to sit down together and go, how can we affect change? And if I can be at the table and hang out and help people, I will definitely do it. I would love to help out, because I think it takes more than just a single leader. I think somebody has to kick it off, which is kind of what some of us are trying to do. But I think it's going to take numbers of us, because I think Ava said it right. She's like, I'm an old white guy. Let's be honest. And old white guys cannot be the ones at the table. You have Keren Elazari from Israel as an amazing female leader. You have so many people that are in this industry that are not old white males that need to be at that table, that need to help out. You look at Africa. I mean, there's some fantastic people in the hacking community, in the research community, that need to be at that table. So I think it will take a number of us to do this.
Thank you. Which way do you think is the best to explain cybersecurity to the users? Since a lot of IT people think that only they have to know and they don't have to democratize the knowledge.
We have to talk to users. So I talked about it a little bit in the talk. I have partnered up with a training company, and I don't, it's part-time. I help them out and they pay me, and I do it on a part-time basis. For me, what I do with that training is we turn what I know up here into English, plain, simple English. Now that also gets translated. I know Gabrielle has those translated into other languages, but we talk with people. We don't talk down to them, and we don't say, oh, you're a user, you're going to know. We talk to them in plain, simple English, and I think that's what's going to help. It's going to be those communications. It's going to be the training companies that help people, and it's free. The stuff that we do is free. We're not charging you. You can watch like at least half or 2/3 of the videos without having to pay anything. So it's out there. We use it and it's available. The dictionary that I've built an entire dictionary, and we're building more of it, that we've put together that translates geek speak into English. It's free. We put it out there so that people can use it. So the resources are there for people to actually learn. We just have to put them in people's hands. And the IT people, anybody who says that they don't want to educate or should not educate the users needs to be tasered. Everybody, this is everybody's problems. I mean, the thing is, we're all walking around with these things. We're all sitting around with iPhones. These are dangerous. These are damn dangerous pieces of technology, but we don't think about it that way. We hand them to our kids and we're like, oh, you go use this. But we don't think about the consequences. So that to me comes to the training, it comes to educating the children, it comes to educating the parents or the guardians, it comes to doing that in school education and home education, it comes to educating everybody. So we can do it, we just have to do it. And there's plenty of resources there to do it in a plain, simple language.
Thank you so much. I have one last question.
Totally.
Educate politicians about cybersecurity, changing their mentality or thinking that it's all related to technical things.
Oh. Can we shoot the politicians, please? Some of them, especially in this country. God. I don't know. That's a tough one. So that is a hard one because my tolerance for politics is low. There's so for those of you that know the industry, Josh, and there's a bunch of really good guys called I Am the Cavalry. Do a little bit of research on it. Josh Coleman, and there's a bunch of other guys inside I Am the Cavalry. They have more patience than most saints because they will deal with the politics. I mean, they are amazing. They've gone in on healthcare. They've gone in on transportation. They are trying to educate the politicians. I think more of us could step up. I mean, perfect example. The US is going through elections at the moment. I've done a bunch of talks on election security and the lack of it. But if you look at DEF CON had the voting village for a number of years. They put an amazing report out about the 2019 voting village. Something like that report needs to be printed off by everybody and handed to their politician to go, are you really telling me this is how we deal with democracy? And helping to educate people as to what that report actually means. So I think we can all play a part in it. We can look at the resources. Again, the voting village stuff is a perfect example. We can look at ransomware. We can look at healthcare. We look at the military. I mean, I do a lot of stuff with the military and the government, and we're educating people, but it is a huge uphill battle, like a huge uphill battle, no two ways about it. And there's no easy solution. I think it just takes more and more and more of us talking about it in non-technical ways. It's talking about it in English. So I think that's going to help a ton.
Thank you so much. That was very important what you just said there. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today.
Much appreciated. Thank you for having me. Thanks to everybody hanging out. This is fantastic. You guys just freaking rock. I am hugely appreciative of being here.
Thank you so much. We're very happy to hear that. Well, I'm going to switch to Spanish now. So thank you so much, Chris, and we hope to see you.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Vamos a una tanda de comerciales y después vamos a dar la bienvenida a Moon Rivers, la artista cyborg. Así que quédense con nosotros.